Hi, and welcome to the first episode of Fun Fact Friday. Today we're going to be discussing Louisiana Civil Code Article 688, branches or roots of trees, bushes, or plants on neighboring property. This recently came up with a friend of mine who called and said his friend had a neighbor who had a tree and that tree's branches were overhanging onto his property. He called the tree service. The tree service went out there to remove the overhanging branch, and the owner of the tree, his neighbor, came in and said, "No, you absolutely cannot touch my tree. Stay away." And at that point, the facts got to me, and someone said, "What should he do?" And my first question or my first answer was, "I don't know. Let me look at the law." Um, we came up with Louisiana Civil Code Article 688, and it says this: a landowner has the right to demand that the branches or roots of a neighbor's trees, bushes, or plants that extend over or onto his property be trimmed at the expense of the neighbor. A landowner does not have this right if the roots or branches do not interfere with the enjoyment of his property. So there are essentially the answer to the friend of a friend's question. Does he have the right to remove the branch of his neighbor's tree? So the first thing is it interfering with the enjoyment of his property? Um, I didn't have enough facts at the time, but let's just say it was interfering with it in such that the overhanging branch was in his way as he was mowing the grass and was getting in his face, as oak trees tend to do. Also, roots, if they're coming over, if he's mowing over the grass and he's hitting the root and it's ruining his lawnmower. At some point, the interfering tree has to interfere with the enjoyment of the complaining neighbor's property. So let's just assume that was true, that there was something that, that the tree was causing some kind of harm to this guy. Does he have the right to cut the branch? Obviously, if you apply the law strictly, uh, the answer is no. And there's some case law that supports that. There's some specific case law that says, despite having the right to demand the owner of the tree cut the branch at their expense, it does not necessarily mean that you can do it even at your own expense. And that's kind of the case here. Is the guy he was going to pay the tree service out of his own pocket, but he doesn't have the legal right to do it, and the neighbor unfortunately was objecting. And I think that gives the law provides an opportunity for resolution without legal intervention, in my opinion, because the complaining landowner can say, "Hey, I'll cut down that branch and you won't have to do it at your cost as you're required to do under the law." And then that, in my opinion, there's no reason that the neighbor should object to that. If legally it's my responsibility and you're offering to do it at your cost, then there is no reason to object. But for whatever reason, a neighbor may object. And the answer to the question is no, you cannot cut your neighbor's tree branches or roots just because they're interfering with your use of the property. So thank you for joining us for our first episode of Fun Fact Friday. Have a great weekend.